Thank you, Brad. It is 6:30 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting of the Charter Review to order. Mike, would you please take attendance?
We have Robert Brennan here, Scott Copley
here,
Scott Guthrie
Here.
Jim Humphrey
Here.
Brad Mayer
Here.
Ben Parra
Here.
Sarah Repose not present, Michael Stevens I'm present, and Ted Tracy
here for right now. Scott, as I indicated to you last week, I have a class that I have to attend this evening, but I've got about 15-20 minutes before I need to take off for it, so I'm signing on for that portion.
And then Ray Angel.
Yes, present.
Okay. Emergency evacuation procedures. Should an alarm ring, we go right up this door here and it leads directly outside. Old business, polling questions, results, additions, and continuation.
Scott, before we go on, Ted's on a time level.
Okay.
Can we move him up?
Okay, do I have to make a motion to change the agenda, or can we just slide down to Ted's? Let's
How about if we just make I'll make a motion that we move down to Ted's part on the agenda, and we'll have that now.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi. Thank you very much. I was about to make that same request, so I appreciate that.
I actually wanted to talk to you because I thought that there was another section in there that could be, for the most part, eliminated, and it has to do with primaries, where instead of following the language that's in the charter, changing that. I didn't bring the paper with me tonight because I was in quite a rush today. Where it would just revert to, and I think it's 206. You see it in there?
That's moderated.
All right.
Primary.
Right now, primaries are 209, and the draft I have strikes out 209 entirely, so then it defaults to the state law, which has the partisan.
Oh, excuse me, it was ballot order.
The current draft I have changes. Right now, I have that should change just the numbering to 207, because the proposal would strike 207 as it currently stands, and that would be the only section left, so it would bump up to be 207. But I left it basically intact. Was that what you were suggesting?
Actually, no.
Okay.
So what you would have considered the new 207, which is 208 now. This was put in at the same time they did the nonpartisan voting. And what it did is it said how they're going to hold a lottery and so forth. What I thought would be the more proper thing to do is to go back to either the old language or just say the ballot position will be decided in accordance with 17 blank blank. I don't have the numbers.
So it would fall then to the state procedure, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. It just falls back to the state procedure for ballot placement.
Okay.
Just to make sure that
I don't have a problem with that.
So if the voters say that they want to go back that way, and if this was going to be,
you should go completely back.
Does that work for you?
That's okay on my end. Ray, let me then just ask you, can we just strike out the current 208 the same way we're doing? And that would basically take out everything that was added when this change came in 2010. And would we be okay, or do we need to put, again, something specific there?
I think you could, because the way that you have 201 proposed or written as proposed, it says pertaining elections, special, general, and primary shall govern the town elections so far as they may be applicable, which is the general laws of the state, which is what Scott's referencing. So it's kind of already covered.
Okay.
We're going to follow primary. We're going to follow the state laws for primaries, I think is what is being discussed, right?
Yeah, that was my thought, because I didn't want it to be inconsistent with the other changes that were made, because the ballot placement was put in there, well, I believe, when they did that whole group on the nonpartisan elections.
Yeah. 207, 8, and 9 all came in together.
All of them did?
They all came in at the same time.
7, 8, and 9?
Yes.
Yeah, 2010.
Okay. Well, we'll just double check. I just want to make sure that that we don't take something out that we're not supposed to take out.
Okay.
But that was just a point that I wanted to make to you.
Yeah, I'm okay with it moving forward. Just we can take out 208 entirely, and that I think gets us to where we want to be.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's straight 208 and 209.
Yeah, right now we were already striking 207 and 209 because 209 had the nonpartisan
Right.
primaries.
So we're just going to add 208 to it.
Yes.
And I'll look at the state laws to make sure that there isn't any contradictions to what it is that you're proposing.
That's what I was trying to get with. Okay.
And then the other one that I had sent out this week was basically, I know Sarah had asked that we separate the request to put in requirement that there be at least early voting for any non-state elections. I put that into its own document and as its own question. And I changed it, instead of putting specific hours, I changed it to normal business hours, but basically it still affords 5 business days of in-person voting if it's not a state covered election.
All right, so that is local election and referendum. Is that how you
Correct?
Wrote?
That election and or referendum.
Okay. Perfect.
So I don't know if there's any further feedback or if this is what we're preparing to move forward with.
So
were we allowing mail-in?
I did not include it. I only included in person. And I'm just judging by what I heard at the town council meeting last night. I was told that for us to do under the current procedure to do a budget referendum requires just a week turnaround time. I mean, that's going to add days to it. We end up in a short order to do 5 days for in person. If we're doing mailing, then I think we have to go even earlier than that. So, it's not that I'm trying to preclude people, but
I did see that in another town. I was reviewing charters in other towns for other reasons last couple of days. I did see that in Barrington, I think. Again, to your point, it's lead time and mail turnaround time. And again, it's something you have to, in this instance, it's something that you had to request in advance. It wasn't that blanket, anybody can do it. You had to request it in advance for the reason. I mean, probably should always have something like that because people will be in hospitals and nursing homes and you can't shut them out.
right. But giving them the ability to vote early is a step in the right direction.
Right.
And and if the voters change or if the voters decide they want to go with the comprehensive change, that could be included in that. Unless you want to add it to this, because the process it's like on a day-to-day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, I mean, there's mail-in ballots where all of us could mail in with minimal reasoning, but then there could be, and we got to stay within state guidelines too, right? But then there's certainly military, homebound, nursing home, hospitalized, out of the state. Knowing in advance you can't be there in person, we have to accommodate that, right? We have to accommodate that, I think.
I've always felt it should be accommodated, but the problem is right now.
That's a great question. They have to do something.
Say it again.
Right now, well, Jim, I agree with everything you just said. Unfortunately, right now, our referendum says you vote on the day of the referendum in person. There's right now no leeway if you can't be present on that day. So I think we're at least getting a step in the right direction here. But I'm just worried about, if you have to mail in a request for a ballot, that takes a couple days. Then they mail back the ballot, takes a couple days. Mail it back has to get in. I know that could have this drag on. That may not be as big of a concern. And also we have to have the ballots ready. So when the applications come in, I'm just worried about time.
It's a time issue. It's a time issue.
At the council meeting, like you said, like Ted said, that they want to get one out there as soon as possible. There just simply wouldn't be enough time to put out. If there's ever like a second referendum where the numbers aren't known until 1 week before, it's a major timing issue.
Yeah, because you'd have to request it and then have the official ballot and you're sent back to you and then send it in. Yeah, it's very difficult. But I did see it. I don't know how they do it. I didn't think they had a lot of time either. It's a conundrum.
Witness issues and some other issues.
Witness issues. Yeah. do you want to call the board of canvassers and see?
Yeah, I like to do that, yeah, because what is the time frame?
Yeah.
Can it
Because
be done?
I think there are hard dates in the budget process. So, to see if it fits in what they can do.
Remember,
It's
our
something-
time, remember, we've always said the timelines we've been proposing for budget referendum. One of the things that we're talking about, we're also talking about other things too, well, is going to adjust and be changed and tweaked, etc. If we just put in the requirement, you know, they kind of have to work with it, you know. And maybe to your point, Ted, you need more time. I mean, I don't want to start walking through the math of the mail, but you know, 2 days, you know, you're into
it could be something that
turn.
maybe
Best. At least you, part of me politically, you have it available at least. I mean, if you really want to do it, you can do it, but understand, you know, some of those things mail-in ballots can come in late, but as long as they're, and that does happen. There's a timing element and a legality thing to the board of canvassers. Let's ask them.
Yeah, because I think there might be an
That's-
issue with the printing of the ballots and the
Yeah.
cost. Because it's a different ballot that they print.
I don't think it would be a lot of them, but you know, if it's 50 people, you know, there's 50 people we don't want to exclude.
Okay. So we all agree.
And also, Jim,
Money.
may I suggest that this may be better off to include with the budget proposal, because that's really the one that it hits us, is right now we have a referendum.
That's the short
Our
window.
proposal went through. There may be, there may not be. And that one, because in our proposal as it is right now, we have a drop dead date of, it has to be done by the end, fourth Thursday in June is what is our current draft. Doesn't have to be, but that's kind of, you can work back from that date. I'm just more worried if we add that in as its own thing for any type of referendum, we could end up with the situation we have now, where we're trying to do a referendum as quickly as possible because we want to pass a budget, and now we are being tied down by all these additional requirements. So maybe it might be better off to put.
We're talking section 201 right now. What section are we talking
right
about?
now, it was proposed to put into 201 as an addition for an election or referendum, because that was where we felt it would be better served.
Yeah.
But at the same token, we could put that into the referendum in 818. I know it's up later, but it could go there as well.
It might have been
So
better
it's
suited to be under the budget, you know, financial provisions.
Yeah,
Yep.
the last time we spoke, we wanted it in one place because we felt like it didn't belong in there at all. But that's the one thing that's got the tight window. It's a time issue. It's a time issue.
Mhm.
So we'll talk to the board of canvassers and probably even the board of elections, because it could be an issue with them, you know, mailing a secure ballot out to someone. And as Ray just said, witnessing and all of that could come into question. So let's check with the board of canvassers. And
Yeah, they'll have an idea and probably a solution on. Yeah, I'll take that action then.
yes,
Got it.
Sounds good.
anything else?
I believe that's all I got on these two. I did see that the filling vacancies was on the agenda again. I don't know if we got any feedback from the town councilor on that. If not, I have nothing else.
Okay. All right. So let's go back up to.
Thank you all for letting me go first.
Sure,
Later on.
no problem. Polling question results, additions, and continuation. Bob sent me an email about a week and a half ago about people's emails being on the website, and there was question whether or not they would be, you know, was identifying people. I checked with Ben, and did he send you back
Yeah,
that?
I saw that. Everything looks like it's turned off, so I'm not sure what happened. Like I said, I went through it again and did not see anything
So I guess
remotely looking like that.
I guess what Bob was saying was that when people were going on to participate in the polls, their identification email was there, or the email was there. And people thought that it's not a good idea because they didn't want to be like brought into something that they didn't want to participate
Dixon
in.
was having to sign in to,
It would thwart
to
them.
take the survey questions, and that's wasn't the intent.
Right. It would thwart them from wanting to do it.
Right.
So.
And I did promise that person that I would bring it up at the next meeting. I was remiss. I should have brought it up last week.
Yeah. Okay. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So for any of our viewers out there that either watching tonight or watching in the future, please understand that there is no identifier on our polling thing on our website. So you can feel free to participate without any worry about being identified. So thanks for bringing that up, Bob. 801 through 859, Jim.
Yeah,
This is our financial provisions.
Yeah, a couple of things. First, we've had some Q&A back and forth with town council. You know, what I initially shared with the subcommittee, make sure our answers were jived, and then push that to Ben and yourself with you stamp of approval whether or not to move it forward. Mm-hmm. We did that with the first couple of questions. I could review those if you think I need to do that. And then the second couple of questions I got today, I've not heard. I don't think you've given it the stamp of approval yet.
Yes,
you have.
Yes.
So I don't know if Ben moved that forward or not.
He actually sent me an email and I said, yes, send it.
Okay.
So that they'll have something else in their hand. And if they think that we need to add anything that they think is important that we might have missed.
Okay. Yeah, the questions were good too. I'll just go through them briefly. They want to know here examples from other municipalities that have the model. I think I understand when I'm reading the attachments. And then they wanted to, they had a question on the 20 signatures was too low. And that's, if you recall, really was regarding the line item level petitioning. You know, they referenced, you know, you need 50 to run for the House, you need 100 to run for the state Senate, 20% of registered voters for a recall. But I basically framed both of those questions as such. The line item petitioning range. I've actually created a matrix. I think everybody who's sent what I gave to the town council as well. You know, they range from 25 to 50 signatures. We thought 20 was enough to provide something that's really just under advisement for the council. So I was again able to discuss what that was. You know, that's something they'll read and take under advisement. We didn't want that to be a very aggressive, arduous signature getting, but enough to validate what they wanted to propose with the town council.
So was that suggestion by that council person to bump it up to maybe a minimum of what it would take to run for office?
So I think what they first said was 50. And then they referenced when we were talking about the budget referendum petition at 500, they mentioned that, well, if I'm running for a state rep, I only need 100, I only need 200 Senate. And then you need 20% of the electors to do a recall locally. But I kind of, my answer to that was, I gave them a matrix of all the different towns, I think 12 towns or 10 towns, where they have a budget referendum where they require petitioning. And they did range from 200 to 650. Mm-hmm. So we kind of were kind of in a sweet spot. We admitted, we discussed that a lot. That wasn't a big number. We felt like 200 was too small. For something that significant to change the overall budget for the town, you know, so we were more in line with most of the towns at 500, frankly. So I was able to share that matrix and research. I called all the town clerks, validated what they were doing, and some used percentages, 3 to 10%. Some used numbers, many of them were 500, 400. There's really no South Kingstown that had 200 on the low end of that. So I was able to share that with them. And those are those first couple of questions. And then I just got questions today that I responded to, again, worked with the subcommittee. These two questions were more into the details of the process. Here's a question: with the examples that you've shared with us shows that an amendment, I'm assuming they're talking about a petition, they'd be proposed that would increase the school budget, but could trigger a decrease in the municipal budget just to ensure that the rate levy does not change. That was one of the examples we shared. I would expect that there is a decrease proposed for one budget and a decrease proposed for another budget, but there would be two petitions, not just one. The way I answered this and did some further research as well is, again, another thing we wrestled with. We talked about that a lot. And if Ted was very vocal about this as well, is we want to show the whole budget. We want to show the debits and the credits and the thought process behind any of the petitions. So it's also for on the ballot. I think if somebody with the ballot wants to understand the totality of the budget, what changed and what was adjusted on both sides of the equation. Even in South Kingstown, and I use that as an example, and that's maybe where they were referencing, the ballot questions separated the school budget and separated the municipal budget. Both were requesting decreases, but the petition itself was one petition. So with the experience of other towns, it's one petition. Our thinking is should be one petition. So you see kind of the summary of the intent and the actual math of the numbers for the totality of the budget. That's kind of how generally we answer the question. Then the second question was, would there still be a public hearing for voters who would be introduced to the amendments, again, assuming they're referencing the petitions after the town council approves the budget? And I said, yeah, because we have that would trigger what we're kind of calling a budget referendum hearing. And that would be triggered. Like right now we have a financial town meeting, it's informational, it's required. We have a all-day ballot for the budget referendum, but in this case, it would be triggered. So if there were no petitions, there would be no budget referendum hearing. The final town council budget would be the budget. There are, again, and I referenced the timeline that Brad created as well. The public hearings that we always have prior to a provisional budget still happen as well. So I referenced that as well. So hopefully that answers the questions.
But for the public, there are 2 shots at the budget to make a change. Am I right?
Correct. That's correct. There's still 2 early on public hearings. Before the provisional budget, there's an opportunity to do line item petitioning, which they can take or leave and assess. And then somebody does a budget referendum. So the town council budget is complete. Somebody says, wait a minute, I want to make an adjustment to the budget, 500 signatures. That triggers another hearing where also the town would re-explain their intent and what they would do as well. So let's just say there's 2 petitions and the town council budget. There should be 3 presentations at that hearing.
I just think it's good because it kind of to get the public more involved.
Right.
So
and these are all great, really great questions.
But let's go back to the very first one that you said, where we had 20 signatures for the preliminary budget. Is that what we were calling it, or the?
We're using the term provisional because that's what's in the calendar with the town. We had a lot of discussion of preliminary and provisional.
So out of fairness to whichever council person sent you the information on the amount of signatures. So if a council person who works on a budget probably for 6 months, all right, and presents it to the taxpayers, has to get 50 signatures. But someone that wants to petition that budget only needs 20. So I would kind of like side with the council person to say that, if I have to work hard to get elected and you have to work less to challenge what we're doing as a budget,
that's fair.
It would make more sense to bump that up to 50, at least what it is.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't know about you guys.
How do you feel?
I wouldn't sweat that at all.
I mean, I don't think it really much matters because you're putting something to the town council for their consideration.
It's not a must do. It's not a trigger anything they don't have to do.
This is only to
It's
get
just
them
something
to
to
look at.
Right.
It's under their advisement. I mean, they can take it or leave it.
Basically, it allows them, the town council, to realize that somebody is serious enough about this that they went out and did the legwork to get X number of signatures, whether it's 20, 25, 50, whatever. Should we take a serious look at that? And I think the answer there should be yes. And they can look at it and say, okay, this doesn't fit within what we're trying to do with this budget. So we're not going to put this in.
Yeah,
or take this out.
The 20 signatures is only to get them to look at their proposal, not become a proposal.
Yeah, the line item level, I put it in the write-up too, is that we didn't want to make that overwhelmingly difficult. It could range from adding an employee as a suggestion. Let's just say, well, again, school budget, it's bottom line only. Just
I mean, really,
legally, you can only do that.
20 signatures you could get in 3 households.
So, in fairness to that council person, can you go back to Ben, because it's anonymous who it is?
Mhm.
Can you get back to Ben and say, would you please ask this council person if they think it's important to increase the number of signatures, simply because, you know, I run for office. I've gotten signatures, a lot of them over the years. It's not easy.
Yeah,
It's not overly hard, but I just think in fairness to that person, if they think that it's important to have, you know, someone from the public that wants to change something, work as hard as, you know, as hard to get elected as a council person does. So see if Ben can send something back and maybe that, you know, that will allay their feelings. And if they watch the meeting, maybe what Bob said and what Brad said about it just being a small number, it's just an open discussion.
That's right.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Okay, good. So let's check. Let's check with that. Anything further?
The other thing that we discussed last week was communication plan for this, and I talked to all these town clerks. I never asked them about mailing for the budget referendums, and if you look at the matrix, there are hardly any budget referendums, so they have not had to deal with it. I talked to Westerly, of course. They have a newspaper that works really well there. One thing I will say, and maybe I'll side a little more with Sarah, because she was adamantly opposed to the cost of a mailing, which I think we assessed at, you know, $10,000-$15,000 type of thing, is what one town did. And it's funny, I think we agreed in the charter to put every detail of how you're going to communicate it might not be, you know, you will put in 5 lawn signs and 2 digital signs on here and here, and you will do a mail, and all this detail maybe doesn't belong there. But what one town does do is they post it in like 7 public locations. Maybe they do the digital signage, which I'm a huge advocate of. You know, it's funny, when we drove out, the policeman was out here checking our speed. Putting it in whatever newspaper, the reminder that you can, and having the website. All that may be enough and avoid the cost of the mailing. And now this is just me thinking through it and reading, I think what was either Barrington or Bristol did. But they did write up, actually, this was in the charter. They used the term posting in 7 strategic locations. So let's just say it was Dave's Market or some place where, you know, a lot of people go. You know, there's advertisement about the budget referendum.
I'm gonna tell you a little story about that. At the fire district, we used to have to post in a public area. And somebody like Dave's, CVS, they won't let you do it.
Really?
Yeah. We had Western Auto because the guy was on our board. We had Benny's because Benny's let us do it, and some barber shop, and it covered the 3 that you had. But no one goes there. It's like posting in a public spot would be, what's the barber you go to, Scott? What's the barber? Bob?
Bob what?
The barber.
Oh, Mark.
Mark. His building is about as big as this room.
Yeah.
But that's a public spot. You can post it. That would cover the law.
Some places have bulletin boards.
But
supermarkets.
yeah, CVS wouldn't let us do it. Brooks wouldn't. When they were there.
Usually has a bulletin board.
I don't know about them. They weren't in our district, so we.
But then the other problem with that too is you can't enforce it. We can't control it. Somebody go in and rip it down.
Yeah.
Post something over it. Maybe
Can anybody name where the bulletin board and Stop and Shop is?
Good question.
True, yeah, true.
I have no idea.
I mean, I used to do that a lot, you know, for things. Anyhow, that was my thought. I did see
I do
that.
like the digital sign on the side of the road. I don't know how much they cost, but everybody in the world sees them.
But what's the level of detail we could put in to the charter? I know everybody was passionate about communicating it. It was pretty clear. A lot of people didn't know this ballot was even happening last time. I mean, one of the things we've consistently talked about with everything we're doing here is getting people to be active and be part of everything, and turnout is important. The one thing I will say about the mail, and we all liked it the one time we all got it, it also was an opportunity as a 1-pager to explain what it was too.
in my conversations today, it was brought to my attention that, that when the town, has to publish, their budget and has to vote on and so forth, I believe that there's a state law that says it has to go out as a legal notice. And I'm not
Yes.
1,000% sure yet,
It does.
but what was sent out was not sent out as a legal notice. I don't think that there was a notation in the reminder. I think it may have just been Coventry town budget. I don't have a copy of it with me.
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so I'd like to take a look at that. And while Jim's looking that up, I'd like to say that in a perfect world, it would be nice if the town had like a semi-annual notice that goes out to the folks to let everybody know what's going on in town.
Important dates.
Important dates and things like that. And then when it comes to the budget, that comes around in the late spring. And then, as in the fall, they could also send something out.
And you know what?
But there is no notation on here that this is a legal notice, nor does it say who paid for it. So this really is not what I would consider a legal notice. I don't know about you, but
that's a good point. And to your point, if you think about it, at one time of the year mailing that could not only identify the budget referendum, but a lot of other things, to your point. What better time to do that than a couple of weeks before the budget referendum, which is just a few weeks before the beginning of the new fiscal year? That's like perfect timing to do that, don't you think? It could have a few things in there. It's one mailing a year to cover a few things, maybe. And that would be a perfect time to do it.
The reasoning I say this, behind that is because it would be nice if we shared all of the information that the town knows with the people, because right now they feel like they're not getting it.
Right, correct.
I just think it would be a small investment, right back into the community that we're asking to help us, run government.
Mm-hmm.
That could be something that the council could do. They could put a set aside in a budget somewhere to do something like that. That just would be something nice for a council person to put out there. I don't think that any of them would disagree with it. I don't think it's something that needs to be written in the charter. But I do think that the notification of a legal notice has to be sent in accordance with state law.
You need to do that.
And that could actually be part of, like I said, if they did a semi-annual thing, whatever they wanted to do with it, but they should be reminded that what was sent out was not legal, was not a legal notice.
So we've got the legal notice issue. The semi-annual, annual mailing concept is a really good one, because as I've learned, I'm working in real estate with my wife a lot now too. There's so much information available in town halls, and my conversations with town clerks are more than helpful about everything, but people don't know what they don't know. Because even in the context of that write-up is, did you know A, B, C, D, and A, B, and C are probably on the website.
Yeah.
And people don't know that unless, my marketing work, unless it's put in front of your face. You don't know. You're not going to go seek it necessarily. But there's some good help, good information you can get from town hall, for sure.
All of this stuff that we're discussing right now is probably on the website, but how many of the people out there really know how to get to the website?
Well, that was my point.
Navigate it once you get there.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's
Sometimes it's pretty
It's
difficult.
not easy.
Better communication between the council and the people would probably work. There's no legal notice on it.
For the record, I didn't, but I could put that in the reminder.
Page 16.
Yeah.
Right in front.
And there's nothing on it that said the town paid for it either. So,
Yeah, this could be a page one too.
and I'll bring something
with little money.
I'll bring something up about people knowing about things when we get under Mike's agenda item here. So
That was also a theme at the town council meeting Monday night. They said they probably could have done a better job getting the word out.
Yeah, it's for sure.
and we've been saying right along that we need to get the trust of the voters back. It's hard. It's hard. A lot of new people are moving into town, and there are a lot of things that they don't understand. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'll mention something when Mike's thing comes up.
I think the mailing is probably the best way to do it. It goes to each household.
But again, I like your idea, Scott, because it could, instead of buttonholing it into the budget process, that could just be general communication to the public process. In my opinion, with the timing of one of those being before a potential budget referendum.
But I think in abundance of caution, that it has to be in the charter because
Yeah.
it is in state law. So that it has to be a legal notice. So, and if we're thinking about putting it under, Section 8, we can find the right spot for it. But leaving better communications with the public to the council, I'm sure that they would embrace something like that. I don't think penny pinching when it comes to having a relationship with the people that fund us, it's a wise investment.
Yeah, because I was listening to Sarah. I was going to do a little more homework and see what the experience has been with other towns. Will it move the needle to improve the number of people voting on the budget?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done that yet. And there's not been a lot of budget referendums too. So I've got to go to places where they have.
Yeah.
Let me fine tune something for next week. I got to wrap that piece up.
Yeah. And I'm sure that people on the council are probably watching us and when they get a chance, because they're busy all the time. So maybe they'll take that into consideration, just that part of our discussion. Anything further?
Okay, I'll just take the action to kind of just wrap something. It sounds like we like mailing idea. I'll just build it into the verbiage, pass it by,
The mandatory stuff.
Stuff we really need to do.
Yeah.
It needs to be communicated.
Mailing's expensive, but I think to your point, if it's strategic once or twice a year, it's done in a proactive manner to include everything. It's the best way to communicate.
And we do have a
Money
lot
well
of people,
spent.
a lot of new
Yeah.
people moving in town.
Yeah,
Money well spent.
because I wouldn't know to go to Mark the Barber's place to see a legal notice.
Yeah.
Nor should I, right?
Well, I go there once in a while.
Once a year.
I was gonna say, didn't know how much of a
I do. He trims my,
Kidding at first.
he trims my beard and he cuts the length of my hair in the back to stop it from.
Yeah, when you asked him was his barber, I'm like, what, he's a barber? What are you talking about? Moving right
along.
to you legally about what I can put in there too, because it can't
I just looked.
be too
quickly-
detailed, I think.
I just looked quickly at Title 17. And it may not, and I'll be much more thinking about the reception internet is not great here. But it may not cover the budget because that talks about elections. So it may,
I'm not sure if it would be under that. It might be under, it could be under taxation, or it could be under
okay,
another title.
okay.
I'll look it up too. I'll figure it out.
I have some great verbiage from the other towns charters too, though. I could look at, that'll help.
All right. 1520 amendment of charter. Bob, anything else?
Okay.
I found something, by the way.
Oh.
It's on my desk. It's not with me, it's on my desk.
Okay, I pushed this out to Ben last week for everybody to review and make comments on. No feedback. I'm assuming he sent it off to the town council for their feedback and input. I have not heard anything. I've not seen anything on the survey results as far as whether it's 10, 15 or 25 years.
Actually,
Oh, I
I
did
see that.
You did.
You did send something out. Yeah.
And I did send it out with a caveat that this hadn't been determined because we're waiting for polling results.
Which one are you looking for?
The one for the 1520.
On the very bottom.
Yeah. 10 years, 77.8%, 10 years.
So we can switch that to
With
10
only,
years.
that was with 9 responses.
Yeah, there's not very many
Yeah.
responses.
So in that
Actually-
case, wait until we hear back from the town council as far as what they say. Once that's finalized, I'd like to put that to a vote and get that moving.
Yeah, we're gonna be voting probably next week on a few things. And we may have an extra meeting.
Yeah,
We'll say about that. We lost a week. Okay. Article 3, Fire Department, Mike.
Sure. So I emailed this out to everybody a couple hours ago. I forget to put the question at the top, but the question should be, shall there be a townwide municipal fire department? So just went through the motions that we've been doing for all the other items, weighing out the pros and cons. And then also you'll see the mock-up of the language, which I shared with you all a few weeks ago. I did make one change in the language, changing the date for the effective date from July 1, 2023 to no later than July 1, 2024. Just in consideration, this doesn't go to the ballot until the fall. Now July, we're talking like 7 to 8 months, which isn't a lot of time to get something created. So this at least gives the town a bit more time.
And the fire districts, moving it to 2024, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
yeah. My original intention with 2023 was everything going on in town now with the districts, like something has to get done. I think moving it to 2024 just buys a little bit more time, should everything kind of resolve itself. In the meantime, there's time to really do things correctly. But this wouldn't prohibit the town from doing things quicker if needed. Well, they have to. Yeah. So I won't read this all to verbatim, but if you do get a chance to please look at the pros and cons, let me know if there's any that I'm missing, if there's any that you think I should add, or any that I may have misappropriately assigned.
Interesting trajectory. I did, and I watched the meeting, but I'm not positive what the final outcome was. You may know there was an RFP. I know there was an agenda item for an RFP for the fire services for the town to do something with fire services. I don't know what the needs are.
272 responses. 84.2% yes, 15.8 no. Are you in favor of creating one townwide municipal district, fire district?
department.
Yeah, department, I'm sorry. And yeah, that's the only one on the fire department.
So I was asked a couple of questions. Apparently, Michael's draft got leaked to some people, and there were some questions about, the dates and so forth. What we're going to do is we're going to provide data, financial implications, transition, and fairness. This is not going to be an easy thing. I was listening to the radio today. I was putting a couple of deck boards on my deck, and the fire board chairperson from Anthony was on there, and I was kind of perplexed when he said that we can't just throw a question on the charter review and let the people vote on it. That's not what's going to happen with this. This will be detailed. It's going to take time. Each of the fire districts are going to be involved. But here's the thing. And I told the council this the other night that, any legislation that goes in front of that General Assembly will be kind of looked at with a fine-tooth comb, because all of the legislators up there made a decision for Coventry a few years ago. And, they put them on a straight path. And then the fire district board decided that they didn't want the state to help out anymore. I went to the council meeting the other night, and I showed them a document, because at the last fire district meeting for Central Coventry, their solicitor, who was also the town solicitor, said that the state walked away and abandoned that fire district, what they didn't. So I supplied the council with a copy of the press release from David Sullivan, who is the chief financial dude for the state. My biggest problem, and why I've been kind of like being vocal about this is because of Article 260. You know, the council should have been handling this weeks and weeks and weeks ago. There is no time left. So in 3 weeks to 4 weeks, they're probably going to be out of money. So what's going to happen is, I would assume it'll go to court. I assume that the judge is going to get involved. He'll probably take a look at that legislation. I'm sure that the legal counsel for the town right now says it probably doesn't mean anything, but I think it does. I disagree. This should have been looked at months ago because bad things could happen when those doors close. And I don't want bad things to happen. I mentioned to them that the Fiscal Stability Act is probably still in play. But I think that the General Assembly will still be a little bit cautious about that because the last time that they did it, it was costing $120,000 a month. And that fire district board fought tooth and nail to get control of it back and out of the state's hands. And look at where we are. They have a meeting tomorrow night. That's probably going to be interesting too. But like I said, this is not a willy-nilly attempt to create a townwide fire department. There's a lot of complexities. All the districts, all the chiefs will be involved. And the problem is being able to have that bridge that carries central Coventry through to September, because like I said, they're going to run out of money. I guess their plan is to have 2 people in 2 fire stations to cover 28 square miles. And that should scare the daylights out of you because it does me. So those are my thoughts on it. Thanks, Mike, for putting a lot of this together. I've already reached out to a couple of the chiefs and a couple of the chairs of the district boards. And I'll remind any of the other chiefs out there or the other boards out there that think that this is just something that could be handled overnight. It can't be, but it may be forced to be handled overnight. And we're trying to get away from that. Those are just my thoughts on it. And as you can tell, I'm still quite angry. And I try not to be. So anything else on it?
No.
Do you, I was listening to it, do you still think we will be able to put this on as a ballot question or?
Absolutely. It's going on.
Yes, that's yes, okay.
You know, I know that 3 of the council people are very, very, very interested in this and concerned with this. And I will, you know, put my faith and my trust in them to get this question to the voters because that's where it belongs. Like I said, it should have been addressed months ago. Months ago.
And I agree. I mean, there's no doubt that this is complex, right, for the town to build a fire department, which it's never had.
Of course.
But I think there's too many people overlooking that there's a lot of really smart, experienced, professional people in this town that know how a fire department's run. Like, we had 7 of them for a while, now we have 4. So there's no short of experience on how to run a fire department. It's just at a different level. And so I don't think it's our responsibility to, we're actually got to create the structure of it. We're just putting it to the town. It's their responsibility now to have the next 12 to 18 months to have the right committees and rely on the right professionals and the right people, figure out how to do this correctly. And there's what, 39 towns in Rhode Island, like 37 or so municipal fire departments. We're not creating the wheel here, right? It's which is following suit with what's done today.
And we're also working on the finance part of it because some people out there think that, you know, oh my God, it's going to cost me a lot of money because creating a fire department. Well, actually what we're doing is we're expanding something that's there and trying to fix it. You know, there is probably $11 million between all of them right now. that money is going to still be there. So
It'll just be in a different pocket.
it'll just be in a different bucket. Probably better overseen, because there's a lot of money that's going out to people that don't put fires out, and that's what we're supposed to be doing with that money. So we're looking at, Mike and I actually going back and forth about looking at, the assessed value of the town. We know an amount of money, a certain rate would bring in $12 to $14 million. We know that there is debt, probably $1 million in the Western Coventry Fire Station, probably some payments on some vehicles. But when the town comes into this, it should come in and own everything, not have to stop paying a mortgage on stuff that's already got a mortgage on it. Let's buy it and let's start. So to start off there, I'm sure, when we start discussing things, I'll be talking with a couple of the chiefs. Safer Grants can provide firefighters for 3 years for no cost. Something that Central Coventry refused to do. And they probably could have saved a lot of money over the last year or two. Not easy. So, like I said, for our viewers, don't think that we're not thinking about all of the ramifications of this. It will not be willy-nilly. You will know what you're voting for. And that's it for me. Anything else for you?
That's it.
I had a question
Yes.
for Ray, if you can answer it. Would a charter question that we're hopefully going to get on the ballot for this topic, would it supersede in any way any votes needed at like the individual fire districts or a town tax levy vote that to accommodate the incorporation of a townwide fire department?
Must be a mind reader. Because I was just sitting here pondering that myself. So I do think that there are probably, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, if I'm one of the residents of one of those fire districts that doesn't want to do this, they may choose to, mitigate it somehow. But I think if, again, was only half listening, I'm not going to lie. But I'm pretty sure that I heard the town council president say that it's the town's responsibility to provide fire service during the town council meeting. So I think that carries the day, in my opinion. They can have their internal squabble, for lack of a better word, and some of the taxpayers of the districts may say, we paid for some of this equipment, we want our money back, and I think it's fair to anticipate things like that, whether or not it actually happens. And I don't think it's worth it, but I think the town can still go forward. I think under the present provisions of the charter, but with what Mike brought up, I think it makes it even stronger that they can do a townwide fire department. How the rest of it all shakes out within the districts, I would say if I was the town, I would say that's not my problem. You handle your stuff within your district, which is going to get extinguished. The charter is going to be revoked. Once this happens.
As soon as one fails, then all of them lose the right to tax, so they won't have any money anyway.
Right.
And they'll argue that in court, saying it doesn't mean that. But
that's
it's in the code. And the code predates the charter. Like I said, somebody prepared for this years ago. Good thing. It's a touchy thing. It'll probably be the biggest change this town has had in over 60 years. But I think it's time that we realize that volunteerism is over. Weston probably had a nice volunteer force, but they're just not doing it anymore. You can hire people per diem. They do that to try to, supplement and have people 24/7. And I don't begrudge them for doing that. I think it's great. But with it coming under one umbrella, I think that they'd be better served with, they would probably have better coverage 24/7. Probably fire and rescue all the time.
Yeah, because how this is advertised and how that ballot question is written is going to be really key, because in my mind, is it more efficient, more effective? I mean, we have a central police department for our safety. We have a central fire department for your safety. And I would imagine police and fire communications would be improved. Is that a fair statement?
Easily.
Okay.
You know, and Mike kind of modeled some of the stuff about the chief and how the fire department runs in his language. I may have to tweak it a little here and there, but without hearing anything from the town, we're gonna have a lot of work to do for the 27th because they want it. But everything hinges on what's gonna happen over here in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we'll know more tomorrow night. We'll see.
I think it's important too, not to forget that 84% of the town.
Yeah.
Agree. That's an
Oh, and I
overwhelming.
did mention earlier that we were talking about communication. I said I'd bring something up during your presentation, and that is people that move to Coventry have absolutely no idea what the fire tank is.
I know,
Yeah.
that's, it,
Fire, for me, fire district was like a whole new concept.
Yeah.
Like, what is
All
that?
right, so they buy a house and they go to a closing, and all the real estate taxes are paid here and there,
That's right.
and then they're here for 3 months and they get a $350 bill in the mail for fire truck.
Then we're gonna put a lien on your house.
Yeah, it is.
Since the past due fire tax wasn't paid by the previous owner.
So, there are issues. Like I said, there are people moving into this town.
And you can't fault the people that move into the town to get a fire tax bill and are surprised because it's not. the
it's
norm.
not, that's
Right.
right.
It's not the norm. We're well behind the times here.
Normal is your fire tax and your police tax are all in
Yeah.
your town tax or city tax.
Exactly right.
I would, yeah,
Well, that's, yeah,
I would say that had not Central Coventry been politicized, okay, we would not be in this problem. Politics does not belong in public safety. It just doesn't belong there.
it doesn't
I
work.
hear Brad say it all the time. I say it all the
I
time.
agreed. Yeah.
You can't vote away everybody's safety because you don't feel like giving it to them. It's
It makes perfect sense.
my part.
Well, we're an old business and we're still an old
Yeah,
business.
go ahead.
So I don't think it's new business. Our last meeting, we talked about, we needed like everything in writing by June 23rd. And then, in fact, we needed to, between that date and the 27th, ship our report to the town council.
There is no,
I'm just looking at the calendar. It's like tomorrow.
there is no super rush to do this. We last until, I think,
July,
July 14th, but we're not gonna go that far.
July 14th, July 15th.
I know that the council wants a presentation on the 27th. But here we are floating around, worrying about the fire department thing and another thing I'm gonna bring up in new business. But if we run a little later than the 27th, so be it. The council president has put us on the agenda for the 27th. If we're not ready, I'll go there and I'll tell her we're not ready. And then we lost a week. Someone forgot to post it. We lost a week of valuable time.
If I can just, as far as the report, in my mind, and I'll throw this out to all of you, assuming that some presentation is made on the 27th, even if it's preliminary, it seems too early for us to, or me, to try and get to you guys a final report without getting their feedback, which may end up changing what ultimately becomes the final report. So, I mean, we could, potentially do a preliminary report for this one.
Good idea.
But I don't see how it can be final when it's quite likely going to change after.
until it's final.
Right.
We'll work on that. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. New business. Section 102, form of government. I've been working on language for the mayor and working on two different versions, which is one is a strong mayor, another is a weak mayor, and I want to find something that's right in between so that the mayor and the council can work together and get things done and not have any friction. Politics will probably be involved with it, but the mayor and council that have to work together, I think is probably the best way to do it. I don't begrudge the town manager, but I think having someone that's accountable to the people, being the chief executive of the town, is being called for by the voters. Like I said, I don't begrudge Ben, but a lot of people just say, if they can't blame the council, they'll blame the manager, and they'll say, well, I can't vote for the person, and this and that. That's the public sentiment. It's always like that. Like I said, I have two versions going on that, and then trying to find something in the middle. I'll probably sit down with Ray this week and work something out to present to you next week. Also, 7 council members by district, including 7 school committee members by district. I think that the people would probably feel better represented if they're, like I said, like they're closer to their council person. Adding seats and providing more representation is not a bad thing, particularly in the West End. That area would probably gain a seat. Working out some other things. It will be 2-year terms, by the way. School committee would be the same, but there's a little more complexity to that because of the 4-year staggered term. So when they set up 7 different school committee seats, when it comes to the election time, there will be incumbents, and then there will be seats that have to be filled. So however they number the district, I think it'll work out. That's something that the Board of Canvassers should easily be able to figure out. I think I wrote it as in 2024, 4 seats will come up for election. So it should be 3 seats that are still there. And then it would set into motion. So in 2026, there would be 3 seats. So it's easy to do that. And it's fairly easy to do council. It's every 2 years.
So there'd be staggered terms for school committee, but not town council?
Not town council. No, 2 years you can't stagger, otherwise you would have to have election every year.
Right, but
Yeah, so.
did you say 2-year terms for school committee or 4-year terms?
No, it's 4.
4 for school, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
That's why I said it's, it would be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
because in 2024, it would be 4 seats up. But the 3 sitting seats that are already there will stay where they are. And that will set into motion which district numbers are done. Because right now I think it's like 2, 3, and 5, and 1 and 4. Those will just change a little bit.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a super huge problem.
State law requires school committee 4-year terms.
Okay.
Any questions? Or do you want me to go ahead with this and find something? How do you feel about, first off, being in the middle and having council and administration that can work together?
I think that's a better option than either a strong or a weak.
Yeah.
Mayoral candidate.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work, a little research on this, and I'll be able to talk a little more about it I mean, I like the idea, we talked about a lot with Ben, the mayor, I like the idea of the mayor. I like the idea of making sure we retain also, call it a chief administrative officer, but somebody with that kind of like a town manager skill set to work with the mayor. That's a really important person to still have here, kind of your operations guy.
Typically,
Yeah.
the mayor makes an appointment.
Right.
For like a chief administrator.
That's an important person to make sure we have, and I've seen models like that in some of the research that I've been doing. But the mayor, the more I think about it, I remember talking Ben was bringing up this kind of idea as well, I think, even himself, because the mayor can really get out there. Being a political person, he's going to have that connection with the public. He's going to be out there doing more outreach, I think, than a town manager is kind of working on the budget. Is very administrative. That's his job. He's managing. You know, the mayor hopefully will not only have some of that skill set, but be out there, particularly in Coventry. We talk all about communications. That's where mayor comes in, communications, right? That's how I was just thinking through it.
And then we talk about salaries. Brad threw a couple of numbers out there. We can set a salary and write it into the charter, or we can leave it up to the council. Right now, I think in the charter, the council gets paid $6,400.
No, well, what's it
4,000.
here? I don't know what it is.
It's like 4,000 something, I think.
4,500.
Yeah,
The
the president
president gets 1,000 more. Yeah, but that could have changed. This is
I think
72 or something.
I think under
It's not a lot.
You don't do that for the money.
No, not at all.
and school committee members get paid less.
That's correct.
Twice the work for half the salary.
Not quite half. But...
So what I'd like to do is I actually, when I drew it up, I drew it up from what the last time I thought I was told that they got $6,400 a year. I'll double check on it. I think it's probably not as much as what they really should be getting. I think that they should be paid well. And I think that the school committee should be paid just as much. And then whether you want to write into the charter, the changes in salary from time to time, that's probably in the bottom of that paragraph, to maybe including the CPI or something else that to measure it with inflation. But I thought it was 6,400.
4,500.
Yeah, but I think that's 72 though.
No, that's when was it amended?
That's the current one.
What? Yeah, but what's the amendment on that?
Section 310.
If it gives a number, it has to be dated 2000. Right, so in 2000,
yeah,
they were paid 4,500.
Yeah, this is 22 years.
So I believe that they get $6,400. So
the current charter.
I always thought it was 45.
So yeah, where is it? How can it be
In fact,
different?
one of the suggestions from one of the council members
that was from that dollar
references $4,500.
Yeah.
Right, but there's nothing that
That's
says
what I thought it was too. And then I
Really,
thought that the town council president gets another
$162.
an extra $2,000 or
still not
$1,000.
enough.
I will.
Right.
Yeah, it's 45.
I think Scott was saying something.
Oh, Scott?
I was just saying that I thought that was the correct amount, and I was thinking that the town council president gets it was 1,000 more or 2,000 more because of the right.
1,000, according to this, but Scott is right. There's a provision that says that they can change it, but it has to be effective for the next group of people.
Right. They
They
can't
can't
change
change
it
the
for
one
themselves.
salary.
Well, and half of the reason behind that is because they didn't want to allow the council to change it for the incoming administration, so they couldn't reduce it for a new administration. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship that was going on with that. I'll double check the numbers, but I believe that it's probably closer to the 64. And I think that's kind of on the low side, and I think 3,500 for school committee is on the really low side.
If it is different, it's in the.
It doesn't necessarily have to be written into the charter, but I think it should. It should be in there. As far as a mayoral salary, I'm not sure if we should do that, or if we should write it as a norm. What do you put the going rate for every mayor in?
We could just leave it generic, like industry standards or whatever.
Right.
An industry standard or set by the council.
It's like HR like language.
It's
Scott,
yes, Scott.
I had a question, Scott. So if you go with a medium type of mayor power that works with the council, what does that do to the town manager position? Does that eliminate it, or will it still be there?
The position of the town manager would be eliminated from the charter, but there would still be an administrative assistant to the mayor.
Yeah, so he can appoint somebody to kind of help him out.
Yes, you would basically have the mayor would be, the chief executive. He'd be responsible for the budget and all these other things, but he would also have an assistant, an administrative assistant, to help him, through all of this, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Usually a chief of staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, right terminology. It's a significant position.
Yeah, so that's I kind of figured. I just wanted to double check, but that's good though. I mean, that's how a lot of the other municipalities are run. They all have their chief administrator, which helps a lot of the legwork out to do, because being a mayor it's a lot of work, and being a town council person, people don't realize how much. You're
right. People don't realize how much work it is.
They don't realize, like, they think people that go to the State House to sit up there, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. Your subcommittee meetings, your meetings. You've been up there, Scott. It's a lot of time and effort. And then it's almost like a 12-year. Even though the town council and school committee, they're year-round people. They're working. And then people think like, oh, the General Assembly, they're only up there 6 months. No, it's a year-round position, because you're getting calls, you're getting emails year-round about different issues, and you're working hand in hand with local officials on different kind of things, which you can bring forward next year and the next year's, new meetings. And it's just amazes me how many people think like it's a lot of work doesn't go into these positions. That's why I've always said, if you run for office, like, I give you kudos, man, because it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time, your personal time up and away from your family and friends, and you do it because you want to do public service. And I just hope most people that watch these videos realize that, that it, even, when you're going to run for an office, you're putting in a lot of time and effort. And I wish people would give more kind of respect to those positions, that people that do run and that do get elected and put in the effort and to do the will of the people.
What would you call it? It would be a thankless job,
or a labor of love.
That you're committed to. It's I always tried to have fun doing it, because it makes it a lot easier. But like I said, it's a commitment. It's not easy, and at times it can be thankless. And remember, because you're always under, you always have something pointing at you. Somebody's trying to buy something, and you're a target on everything. But
yeah.
So before Monday, I will have some language for you to look at about mayor, council, school committee. It didn't seem like there was a lot of flavor for the at-large. I kind of do like it. I know Scott, we know it's a lot of work, but it doesn't preclude us from throwing that question in there too, because you can have competing questions, and the one with the most votes wins. But I think that even with my discussions with people that I know, they think that the 7 districts will probably better serve the people, because it kind of makes the districts a little more compact, easier to get to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that large one, it could work. I just, do we have to spell out the delegation of, if you're an at-large seat, do you get CC'd on every email from all the other council people? Because as every issue.
Oh, you're a counselor. You get everything.
Yeah.
So you're not different. You have the same power. and you represent, everybody on the council represents.
Yeah.
So
they're not talking about at-large seats anyway, right? it's all 7 individual.
The district
districts.
seems to be the better thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's up to the voters.
Yep.
And it's up to the council. I just think that, in my opinion, everything's up to the voters and it should go there. We'll see how that
You
goes.
know, one point I would make to that, we've got it's the largest town land-wise in the state. A lot of it's part of it's very spread out, some of it's more dense. I mean, about getting a really good representation to your point.
Yeah.
And 7, to me, makes sense. You're gonna be a little closer to your
Yeah,
town
because
councilor.
I mean, like District 2, I mean, the amount of construction in District 2 is crazy. I mean, it's just.
I keep seeing it left and right. We're doing a lot of walking in the morning. My wife and
Yeah.
And we're like seeing construction all over the place.
And no more on that. Public
Actually,
comment.
I had a,
Oops, sorry.
so if that the 2 at large goes before anyone, would that wouldn't be for school committee too?
No.
Like, so it would just stay 5 districts. It's just that the council would have 2 at large members
Yes.
and school committees would stay the same.
Yes. I can write that both ways to
Yep.
have you better understand it.
Yep.
And I think I already did that. I think I did write it both ways. Public comment? See, Pauline is with us again this week. And I see Kent's iPhone. And I don't see any hands. So as always, any public comment from any of the members, feel free. You think anything else needs to be addressed?
No, I'd only say it's just good beginning, starting to get the feedback loop with
Yeah.
town council, which we've been wanting to do from
Yeah.
day one. So that's good.
You know, I
Good
know
thing.
that,
That's a good thing.
you know, should this stuff get on the ballot, remember the council president saying that they would like, go out and promote it and stuff. So, I'm just hopeful that they go out and promote everything and not promote,
Good point.
not promote certain things on it, because I think, we're trying to make government work better for the people and gain their trust back and get them to participate more. Even through the simple things of having a newsletter and stuff, it just makes more sense to me.
Well, you bring up a really good point, promoting the ballot. So let's say there's 5, 6, 7 ballot questions.
Mhm.
Communicating that is important too. Just as,
Yep.
Instead of just walking in there and seeing all these questions, like, what is all this? We need to give them a heads up on all that.
And I know, as an elected official before, I know that people call you a lot, and I used to get called a lot. So I know the council people, school committee people get called a lot. So, it is a thankless job, but we do it because we're trying to help.
I'd like to say too, since I'm on Johnson's Pond.
Oh, the governor's going to come and sign the bill deal.
Yeah, I was at the association meeting the other day, which is going to be great. But I was up there for both hearings and I was providing testimony. First one's town council was there. Second one, town council was there. I had to leave early because everything got delayed from 4 o'clock till it didn't start till like 7 o'clock, and they were there. The 3 town councils were there the whole night, so they could provide their testimony. Which, back to Scott's point, that's pretty awesome. That's a late night.
Yeah.
So it was really, really good that
We
they were really part of that.
Monday night's meeting, I think they actually had to vote to continue past 10 o'clock because
It was over 5 hours.
it was over 4 hours. So it's
With executive session.
With an executive session, yeah.
oh yeah.
The tape is 5 plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It's a lot of time.
they had a lot.
That's
of
just
work.
the meetings.
Yeah, they had a lot of work to do that night. So, and
They gave themselves another meeting.
yeah. So, hopefully we can get the public to trust back. That's my number one thing.
Yep. It's a good thing. That's the perfect thing.
And if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay, before you do that.
Okay, I knew that you were going to say something. I saw
Wasn't
you.
me.
You
Was that-
had
was that me?
mentioned earlier the possibility of an extra meeting. Did you want to
Um,
Oh, good point.
Do something on that, or
let me speak with the council president first. Because she has me on her agenda for the 27th. And if it warrants us having another meeting, and we can't get everything to them, then I'm gonna tell her that we'll give you a preliminary and we'll come back and see you when we finish.
I remember Ben saying they were gonna have one meeting in July. I can't remember, I think it was like mid to late July.
they're having one.
Well, there are time limitations,
Yeah.
For ballot printing and all.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But they've also got the
But that
budget.
July meeting would be before, because they don't need to get to the state till.
They're having to go into July
Early
because of
August.
the budget anyway.
10th or 20th, Sarah said last week, if you remember that shit.
If we need to do it, we will poll you beforehand. And what's a good day you guys like? Or evening do you guys like?
Anything not
Anything?
June 28th to July 5th,
Okay,
I'm available.
you're not around,
It's gonna get difficult, though.
so we'll see if we can't get everything done. But I would prepare to, and just in case we have to have one more.
You think about it, we roughly have 10, maybe 10 things.
Yeah.
And the report doesn't have to, I have this PowerPoint presentation, it doesn't have to be all of that. And we could present some things, but in advance, they probably want a report with the 10 things with enough detail as to what they are.
Mhm.
And we'll expound on that and when we present it. I guess we can do that in the
And
presentation,
they're gonna want their solicitor review it,
right? That's right.
and I don't think that's necessary. We'll see.
Well, it ends up getting tweaked and reviewed and all sorts of stuff, I guess. But I think the key is to present it and see if we agree. We want to move A, B, C, D, E, and F, G forward. Then it'll be tweaked and adjusted, I assume.
No, I have a
Something like
question.
that.
Do they have to bring in another solicitor to go over our fire department questions since they're represented by the same firm?
No
They
conflict.
have somebody else that they brought it.
Oh, that's right.
They did.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Remember the name.
I can't remember the
Yeah.
name, but I remember he sat up with.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
mention a few things. He was queried by a couple of the council members on something, so.
Okay.
Anybody have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor.
I
Chair votes aye, we are adjourned. Thank you, Jim. You're welcome.
God, I lost. I played